Title: Coming into Her Own. Barb had always felt different. Growing up in a small town, she never quite fit the mold. She could never put her finger on it, but as she entered her teenage years, it became more clear. She was drawn to girls. She would spend hours looking at the girls in her class, daydreaming about holding their hands or sneaking kisses under the bleachers. But she kept those thoughts to herself. Her world wasn't ready for someone like her. Barb's family was traditional, and the small town didn't exactly foster openness. Her parents weren't unkind, but the subject of sexuality was never discussed in their house. Barb often found herself hiding, pretending to fit in, pretending that she wasn't feeling something that seemed both natural and shameful at the same time. Her sophomore year was when everything changed. That was the year she met Lisa, an older woman in town who worked at the local bookstore. Lisa was confident, self-assured, and most importantly, unapologetically herself. She wore her pride openly, not in defiance, but simply because she had nothing to hide. She was a lesbian, and she didn't care what anyone thought about it. One day, Barb walked into the bookstore, browsing as usual, when Lisa struck up a conversation. Barb had seen Lisa around before, knew that she was one of them. She felt a mix of curiosity and excitement. "You know," Lisa said with a smile, "I always think it's so important to read books that make you feel like you're not alone. It helps, especially if you're going through something." Barb hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I get that." Lisa's gaze softened. "You know, I think you might need some books that speak to you, that make you feel seen. I have some recommendations if you're interested." And from that moment on, a friendship blossomed between Barb and Lisa. Lisa became a mentor, guiding Barb through her journey. They would sit in the cozy corner of the bookstore, talking for hours. Lisa shared stories of her own coming out, of the struggles she faced, and how she found herself despite the world's judgments. But Lisa didn't just talk about coming out, she also taught Barb about safety. One afternoon, after a conversation about relationships and desire, Lisa gently but firmly explained the importance of safe sex. "It's not about shame," she said. "It's about respect, for yourself and for others. When you're in a relationship, especially with someone you care about, you deserve to feel safe. Always." Barb didn't know much about safe sex, but Lisa's approach was open and non-judgmental, allowing Barb to ask questions without fear of embarrassment. Lisa's advice made Barb feel empowered and knowledgeable, but it was her unwavering support that meant the most. As the months passed, Barb grew more comfortable with herself. She started to make friends within the LGBTQ+ community, people who embraced her for who she was. But it was the moment she decided to come out to her parents that stood out as the most pivotal. One evening, after another long talk with Lisa, Barb knew she was ready. She had her moment of courage, and she told her parents. It wasn't easy. There were tears, confusion, and questions. But there was also love, and slowly, her parents came to understand. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The days turned into months, and Barb began to feel more at ease in her own skin. One day, at a local LGBTQ+ event, she met someone special, Rachel, a girl from a nearby town who shared Barb's love for poetry and art. They hit it off immediately, and soon their friendship blossomed into something more. In Rachel, Barb found not only love but also a deep sense of connection. They laughed together, shared their dreams, and supported each other's growth. It felt right, and Barb finally felt like she was where she was meant to be. As time went on, Barb continued to lean on Lisa for advice. Lisa, though never romantic with Barb, was her guiding light, a mentor who helped Barb not only embrace her identity but also understand the depth of self-love and respect that would serve her well in her relationships. By the time Barb turned 18, she was no longer the scared, confused girl she once was. She was confident, secure, and surrounded by people who loved her for exactly who she was. Barb and Rachel's relationship flourished, built on trust, respect, and the understanding that love could be both beautiful and complicated. Barb had found herself, and in doing so, she found love in its purest form. Lisa watched Barb grow, content in the knowledge that she had helped another person along the path to self-acceptance. It wasn't about taking advantage or making things complicated. It was about love for others, for who they were, and for the journey they all walked together. And Barb, for the first time in her life, felt whole.